Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to delve into one of my favorite topics, something I emphasize a lot, dopamine. I find it crucial to understand the behavior, the effect of dopamine on your brain in order to take control of your life and reach where you truly want to be. It's fundamental. Understanding how dopamine works literally can change your life. Now, I'm going to briefly explain what dopamine is, how it functions, what effect it has on you. And then I'll move on to give you some tips on how you can do a dopamine fast to reset your dopamine levels. Alright, basically, dopamine is the motivation chemical, a substance your brain secretes that drives you to go further, to build new things, to conquer new territories. It's what has driven humans to want to go to space, to build rockets, to improve cars, to go from horse to car, to conquer territories, to go beyond, to break barriers. It's what makes us jump out of bed. That's dopamine. The problem with dopamine is that it doesn't read your context. It's just like a yes or no. So, for example, when you eat junk food, you get a dopamine spike, a positive peak. And when you do something that makes you suffer, something you don't like, you get a dopamine dip. Here's where the magic happens. When you have a very pronounced peak from an instant gratification like video games, pornography, junk food, the level you return to afterward is lower, meaning your baseline dopamine level decreases. And since dopamine is the motivation chemical, you have less motivation. We've all experienced this. You're getting cheap dopamine from scrolling through social media for 4 hours, and afterward, how do you feel? Worse. Eat junk food, and how do you feel? Worse. Spend hours playing video games, and you feel worse. However, when you do those things that make you feel bad, that cause discomfort, like, ugh, what a drag to go for a run, to go to the gym, to take a cold shower. But then, what happens when you do them? What happens when you come back from training from the gym? You feel better. Take a cold shower, and afterward, you feel better, even though at the moment it's like, I want to get out of here. So what happens is that today, we live surrounded by addictive products and services that play with our dopamine, like social media, and they wrap us up in a spiral where we spend time addicted to these substances or platforms, and we feel worse and worse. And when you feel bad, what do? You go back to them. You spend 4 hours on TikTok, feel bad, then you want to be back up. You want dopamine, you look for quick and cheap dopamine. So you order McDonald's. It gives you a peak for a moment, but then you drop and feel worse. And it gets worse and worse. So what we're going to explain in this video, the dopamine fast, helps you reset. You've been caught in a negative spiral that leads to general malaise, and this brings you back to your real baseline, increases your baseline. It's like giving our brain a break from so much cheap stimulus because they are cheap stimuli, instant gratification. We're not designed to receive those stimuli. When you masturbate watching pornography, you're tricking your brain. You're designed to mate, not to masturbate watching pornography. It's a deceit to your brain, and as such, it can't be good for us. It makes quite a bit of sense. Now, we're going to see how to do the dopamine fast. The first thing we need to do is decide the duration. I always say that doing 24 hours is better than doing nothing. Doing a month is better than a week. It depends on how extreme you want to take it. But personally, instead of going for super sprints, what I recommend to do is have a life as balanced as possible in terms of dopamine in general, something that can last forever. That is, consume social media as little as possible, junk food as little as possible, want to sleep well every day, train, and do things that take me out of my comfort zone, work on my projects every day of my life. I want to do it. I want to live literally fasting to the extent possible and without being extreme about my dopamine levels. But it's also very trendy to do a fast for a week, a month, or something like that. I find it totally legitimate and would understand that just by watching this video, you might not want to take a totally different lifestyle. But I 100% advise you to try it for 7 days, please, even if it's just 7 days of dopamine fasting. If you can't, if you don't feel like it, try 3 to 4 days. Alright, once you've decided the duration, how long you want to do it, let's see what you have to avoid. As we said before, you have to avoid instant gratification. Forget about video games, forget about junk food, forget about overeating, forget about laziness, forget about snoozing the alarm, forget about pornography, forget about alcohol, forget about drugs, forget about vices, bad habits. Forget it. You have to stay focused. That's free dopamine, instant gratification that doesn't lead you anywhere in the long run. And now, let's see what you should do. Activities that require your concentration. During the dopamine fast, you will notice how gradually you gain a greater mental focus. That is, if you currently live all day addicted to social media, notifications, app after app, they write to me, they call me, they like me, they comment, and suddenly you drop the phone and start reading a book, your brain will not fully concentrate on reading. And it's hard. We've lost the ability to concentrate on something, to pay attention. Our generation, people are on TikTok and can't even last a second and a half watching a video. They're continuously swiping. So, little by little, as you reset your dopamine levels, you'll feel it. You'll start reading, and you'll be able to concentrate, absorb the information, think about it. You're actually learning. For the dopamine fast, activities like reading, like meditating, exercising, consuming information actively. Don't listen to a podcast as background noise, but go for a walk, put on a podcast, and focus on what you're listening to. Process that information, absorb it. It's for you. It benefits you. Do it. Activities that involve being in touch with nature. A habit that I find fundamental for me is something very simple, sitting down and thinking. A blank sheet of paper, a pen, and think. One day, I might think about what content to offer you on this channel. Another day about how to optimize my businesses, how to solve a problem, depending on the day. Just think, reflections, redefine what success means to me, what happiness is, what my goals are, what I'm trying to achieve. All of this somehow connects you with yourself. It connects me with myself in a world that moves so fast, where everything is lights, flashes, social media, notifications. It helps me. Now, I'm going to give you some practical advice to facilitate your dopamine fast, some specific tips. First, I recommend you remove all kinds of temptations from your environment. If you're going shopping to prepare for this dopamine fast, don't buy tempting products. Don't have chocolate in the pantry. Don't have cookies, cereals, because they will intervene in your brain, they will distract you, they will call out to you in some way. Uninstall, hide, or deactivate notifications, social media. You have to reduce your phone usage time. This is hard today. Practically everyone abuses their phone. Set a goal. Install the widget that tells you how much time you spend on the phone per day, and try, for example, to spend less than 50 minutes a day on your phone, unless it's expressly for work, but not as a hobby, wasting time. If you're going to do a week, for example, of fasting, distance yourself from a toxic circle that tempts you, that invites you to drink alcohol, to any type of instant gratification. You have to separate yourself a bit from that circle and say, hey, I'm working on my personal process right now. I need this space for myself. And then you have to set realistic goals, do self-reflection, perceive yourself, see how you're experiencing the dopamine fast, document it somehow, like a mental diary. Before we go, I want to ask you please, if you like these videos, share them with all your contacts, and please also leave us a like to improve the algorithm so that more people can find this content. Remember to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell. Thank you in advance for your generosity, and see you next time.